What them haters talking about?
Yeah. Order and protection.
What's up, family? I've always been told don't do the crime if you can't do the time. So one of my biggest pet peeves is people who cry when they get caught doing wrong. From a baby killer to a killer who kills simply because his victims didn't have any money. Here's my list of 6 killers who cried like a baby in court.
I understand, what I did is a terrible thing, but I wasn't the only one in this situation.
For the first time ever, accused cop killer Ashford Thompson breaks down in the courtroom. With tears streaming down his face, he told the judge he's frustrated with the legal process.
I still don't have copies of the things that I've asked for. I don't have a copy of anything. I don't even know what the prosecutor's going to use against me.
Well, probably your statements, Mr. Thompson.
Thompson is accused of shooting to death Twinsburg police officer Josh McTarian in July 2008. Wednesday afternoon, McTarian's widow Holly sat in court as Thompson told a Summit County judge he's having a tough time in jail. He complained that he's not receiving his mail and that he's constantly being harassed.
How can these people just do anything they want? They don't even follow their command the right way. I've been harassed for I don't know how long. I'm trying to hold it in just to get this over with.
Thompson has been through a number of lawyers. His current attorney, Kerry O'Brien, told the judge he's planning on filing an additional 40 motions. The judge agreed to give him 1 more week to prepare. Faced with the death penalty, an exasperated Thompson told the judge he worried about getting a fair trial.
Your Honor, just execute me there because I can't get any kind of justice. I'm tired. I'm at the end of my rope.
Well,
What can I do?
Very dramatic day in court as a young man learned his fate. He beat his girlfriend's little boy to death because he wouldn't stop crying. Brittany Smallwood has more on today's sentencing for us. Hi, Brittany.
Teresa, it was intense at sentencing. The courtroom was packed with family and friends supporting the defendant, Dylan Shoemaker, and the victim's family. As soon as the case was called, Shoemaker walked into the courtroom and started crying, telling everyone how sorry he was.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
Dylan Shoemaker walked into a state Supreme Court room pleading his case, telling his victim's mother and the court he's remorseful for what he did. Shoemaker was sentenced Friday for beating 23-month-old Austin Smith last March. Before the sentence was handed down, Shoemaker and his defense attorney fought for the minimum sentence, 15 years to life.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot.
Austin Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting.
Based on his short life now, what is to say he won't do this again?
Well, we don't know that. I think it's completely unlikely. It was a situational, circumstantial thing.
In Judge M. William Bowler's last words to Shoemaker, he told the now 17-year-old that in his short life he's caused so much despair to so many people. Bowler said he listened intently to Shoemaker's testimony during trial and called him a manipulator who minimizes his actions.
The record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote.
Afterwards, Shoemaker was sentenced to 25 years to life behind bars.
Friends and family gathered to remember a mother police say was killed by her own son. Deidre Jefferson, a beloved member of the Alief ISD School Board, was stabbed to death at her home on Friday. Just hours ago, a candlelight vigil was held in her honor right there in the parking lot of the Alief Administration Building in the 4000 block of Cook Road. Jennifer Bauer live there now with the emotional tribute. Jen?
You know, this is a woman that went to school in this district, then grew up to work here. Those who knew her say her passion for kids and education is what they'll miss most. Hundreds of people stood out in the cold to remember Deirdre Jefferson, the only warmth coming from these candles and the memories of a woman devoted to this school district.
She loved Alief. She grew up here. She went to school here.
Ann Williams is the board president. She and Deidre were the greatest of friends. The news of her death still hasn't sunk in.
No one saw this coming. This is not the family. No one ever thought that this would happen.
Police say Deirdre's son, Blake Jefferson, brutally stabbed and killed his mom inside their Alief home early Thursday morning. Those close to them say something in his mind must have snapped.
On November 5th, 2003, all doubt of Ridgway's guilt was erased. He pleaded guilty to the murders of 48 women. He'd made a deal to cooperate with the prosecution to provide more information on his victims and the whereabouts of their remains. In doing so, he avoided a trial and possible death penalty.
Mr. Ridgway, how do you plead to the charge of aggravated murder in the first degree as charged in count 1 for the death of Wendy Lee Caulfield?
Guilty.
How do you plead to the charge of aggravated murder in the first degree as charged in count 2?
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
It's like he didn't have any remorse at all for what he had done. You know, he'd killed so many people, he didn't remember who they were, what they looked like. I just couldn't believe that somebody could kill all those people and not remember them.
Neither could the angry relatives of his victims, who were invited to speak in court when Ridgway was sentenced to life without parole on December 18th, 2003.
You had said your memory, when it comes to all of the women you took, was gone. Our memory is not. In your words, you said that they didn't mean anything to you, but she meant everything to us.
She was a mother, she was a wife, she was a sister, and we miss her.
Gary Ridgway sat there stone-faced as victims' relatives damned him and mocked him.
He's an animal. I wish for him to have a long, suffering, cruel death.
He's gonna go to hell, and that's where he belongs.
But then the emotionless facade finally cracked when the father of one of his victims appeared to surprise him with a dose of human kindness.
Mr. Ridgway, there are people here that hate you. I'm not one of them. You've made it difficult to live up to what I believe, and that is what God says to do, and that's to forgive. You are forgiven, sir.
A young woman accused of killing her 3 friends while driving drunk learned the consequences of her action today. Bill O'Neill was in the court when Amanda Sperduti learned her fate, and here's his report.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry.
Amanda Sperduti apologizes to the family and friends of the 3 people she killed in a drunken driving accident. The 21-year-old from Winston-Salem, a graduate of Mount Tabor High School, had a blood alcohol level more than twice the legal limit. Lab results also found marijuana in her system the night of the crash.
I suffer from it every day of my life. I'm so messed up. I suffer from this every single day of my life. I will for the rest of my life.
The victim's family told the court they'll never forget what happened either. Walter Bedwell lost his 23-year-old son, Scott, in the crash. During his emotional testimony, he never took his eyes off the defendant, Amanda Sperduti.
You can still talk to your mother. You can cry with your mother. Eventually, you'll laugh with your mother. I cannot. I want to hug my boy.
Sandra Rumley lost her 18-year-old granddaughter, Taylor McCaskill, in the crash.
My life has been changed forever.
The grieving grandmother told the court she'll never have grandchildren because of that accident.
And Lord, I know you can't possibly need Taylor as much as her mother and I did.
Sonia Hardy lost her 18-year-old daughter, Sasha Hoffman, in the wreck.
We had the typical mother and daughter issues, and like all teenagers and their parents, we would quarrel over simple things. And I would give anything to argue with her again.
Sperduti, who cried during all of the testimony, broke down and sobbed after hearing Hardy.
The evidence you shall give to the court in the case now being heard shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so be God.
Amanda Sperduti will spend the next 7 to 12 years in state prison.
Filled a Hamilton County courtroom today after a man who admitted killing animal lover Portia Brooks and shooting her boyfriend Aaron Martin in the head was sentenced. Brooks and Martin were shot in 2013 because they did not have any money to steal. Jaleel Smith Riley admitting to the crime. He confessed, pleaded guilty, then tried to drop that plea today. Judge Carl Kubicki did not let that happen. Smith Riley was sentenced after families gave statements. His family asking for mercy, her family asking for a life sentence.
He took her from me. She was beautiful. Her beauty was not just skin deep. She had a beautiful heart, mind, and soul. She was a little sister, a big sister, a niece, aunt, cousin, granddaughter, and my daughter.
The judge sentenced Smith Riley to life in prison without parole for Brooks' murder and more time after that for shooting Martin and still more time for using a gun. Smith Riley collapsed to the floor.
The Ohio Department of Corrections, mandatory and consecutive underlying offenses. All those counts are left consecutive each other. Colgan credit for time served amount of 349 days.
The families say this was the first step toward healing.
What the haters talking about?
Order, Texas.